Um, so, first question I want to ask you is, how did you get involved with the Cambio Center and the conference?
Yeah, so getting involved with the Cambio Center is actually an interesting story. I think I was going to a Spanish professor's research in Colombia, and it mainly had to do about indigenous work and literature and poetry within the country. And Lindsay Saunders, who was the director of the Cambio Center at the time, um, noticed me, and we were just talking, and I was letting her know that I was a political scientist in my undergraduate studies, and that I was interested working, doing research with, anything involving the Latino community. And there just happened to be a really great opportunity to be able to go and interview farmers throughout the Midwest. So I just jumped at that opportunity because I felt like it was a really great goal for me to actually use my Spanish skills to interview Spanish speaking farmers and getting their perspective on certain research projects that the university had. So that's initially how I got involved with the Cambio Center, and it's just been a blessing since. And the conference, I was actually unaware that we put on a yearly conference until this year. This year I really tried to get more involved within the office, and so this has been my first year organizing the event, and it's been fun so far, definitely.
Sweet. So, what sort of things are you looking forward to throughout the week?
Yeah, so being an incoming graduate student, something that I've really enjoyed is getting the perspective of all of current graduate students while they're presenting their findings, as well as professors. So I really get to ask them questions like, what should I be expecting? Like, what can I look forward to? And how can I potentially tune up my insecurities within academia. So just getting to see all their perspectives and their research methods and their styles of how they present their work has been really beneficial for me, and just what I can take for my graduate career. And it also gives me a good lesson that even though you might think that your research question has already been asked countless times, there's always a niche that you can take advantage of within your own realm of work that could really benefit not only you for your own academic achievements, but for the community that you're trying to influence.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so have you managed to make any connections thus far?
Yeah, actually, I actually met a fellow professor here at the University of Missouri. Not a professor, he works with extensions up in Kansas City, and he's actually inquired about me potentially speaking with Latino students in certain Kansas City school districts, because telling them my story, it's it really goes to show how very individualistic each of our stories are. But even though we do have unique stories, we both come from similar backgrounds, and reaching that dichotomy and being able to present that to students in a way that many professors or many older faculties might not be able to reach out to these students, I think would be a really great opportunity for me to somehow connect with them and telling them that even though your journey might be considered unorthodox, it's just as important to share your story. It's just as important to make sure that you can find your passions, even though, regardless of how you were brought up, and regardless of the path that you've taken. So those are some of the connections I thoroughly enjoy. I've also talked to some professors of fellow graduate students, and they've kind of helped me answer those nuanced questions that you don't really ask in a public setting. Some things like personal anxieties, social impacts, and psychological impacts of being at an institution while being a predominantly minority student in white institutions or not very diverse institutions. So getting that solidarity within your own graduate students and being able to connect with them on that level, those are also the types of connections I've thoroughly enjoyed here at the Cambio Center conference.
Cool. And okay, so I know that you can answer this one pretty well, given your dual involvement in Mizzou Democrats, but obviously the political landscape is sort of changing and shifting right now. And there's a lot of issues that may have always been present, but that are even more present
Yeah.
today. Would you like to speak on some of those issues in reference of the conference?
So what I like about this conference is that even though there are very political undertones, we really focus on the research and the statistical significance of our questions, and that's why I think conferences like Cambio is just so important because we are able to identify actually like statistically backed up talking points when we talk about like the do's and don'ts and the pros and the cons, mostly cons of the current administration and past administrations. And that's even though, it may seem like we all have like political leanings, we are able to address those, biases in a really academic way. So we're not just speaking because of our biases, but we actually have evidence to back it up. And I feel like when it comes to the political landscape right now, I feel like this is something that we can, regardless of your political leanings, that we can all kind of come into and take in the information because it just doesn't affect, lower class Democratic immigrants. It affects, your traditional white landowners that actually hire these people to work the farms. I think there was a case in Iowa where there was a case of undocumented workers working in a GOP donor farm, like land that he owned. So, it's not just a purely Democratic or Republican thing, and I think that's something that we need to understand, is that we may have certain interests within our own political ideology, but this debate, this topic, and just the overall themes of this conference really affects everybody, either socially, economically, or culturally. And I think that's something, if we're able to properly address those issues and those themes to our colleagues on other political aisles, or like just more privately owned institutions as well, and making them aware that this isn't just like an agenda that we're trying to set. I think it could really benefit us moving forward because we are living in troubled times, I would say, in my opinion, with this current landscape. We even have immigration courts that are super backed up to where we can't even provide our full like civil litigation and civil proceedings within like the law, and that's what we're supposed to be known for. We're supposed to like provide standard proceedings for anybody, regardless of their status. It's in the new. It's not in the new, but it's in the Constitution. It's in our amendments, and just the fact that we aren't able to provide that, I think we should have solidarity within like constitutional conservatives and like really human rights advocates. If those constitutional needs aren't being met, there should be consensus and camaraderie in that. But so far, in the current political landscape, we're just not seeing that. So I hope this conference can really help us find certain talking points and certain themes that we're able to translate to our colleagues on that may differ from us politically, and we can find common ground and then move up from there.
What a good response.
Thanks.
We should get coffee sometime and talk politics because
definitely.
you have a lot to tell teaching. I guess I'll ask one more question, and this is sort of like the cop out. But do you have any other comments or about the conference in general that you'd like to share before?
Yeah, being my first year, and I'm just recently graduated from my undergraduate institution in being Mizzou, I would really like to see more organizations sponsoring kids to come to these conferences. I think one of the most fascinating things I got from this conference is that there was a sixth grader presenting on her research. She's a sixth grader, and apparently she's been doing this for many years. She's been coming to this conference, and she's had the courage to stand up and present to academics, professors, journalists, and just her fellow students who might be a couple of years older than her. But to me, that was one of the most breathtaking findings of this conference, is that we have, we have professors, yet we have also like children who will take deep interest in social research, and that's something that I've never seen in my life. And just if we could get more children interested in like because minorities typically have these questions, like why does my skin color affect the way that I'm being taught at school? Why is it that where I live, we have, crappy computers, but in a town over, not even 20 minutes away. They have state-of-the-art things. They're not educated on like property taxes and all that stuff. And when we have a student as young as the sixth grader actually opening up and asking herself these questions, well, she might not know like the methodology and quantitative methods that comes with regression models. I don't either. Like she's still asking those preliminary questions and asking herself these questions about the culture in middle school. And I feel like if we could get more students, it doesn't necessarily have to be middle school, it can be high school students, it can be undergrads that within the Midwest. Because, in the Midwest, while it may seem that minorities and farm workers and immigrants are mainly coastal, housed on coastal regions, there is a growing hub of rural immigrants in the Midwest, in Missouri, in Michigan, in Iowa, in Nebraska, you name it. And there's a lot of data and a lot of questions that need to be asked because it's a very unique thing being an immigrant in the Midwest than in the coastal cities. And I think if we are able to get more people interested in asking those questions, then we can foster better opportunities for these people and their communities to climb the socioeconomic ladder, which at the end of the day, that's what we want. We want their future generations to thrive and be included in their communities that they reside in.
See.